besties, welcome to what I think will be a bit of a miscellaneous crafty project vlog. Over the winter I've kind of just been knitting Christmas gift knits and sweaters for myself. I've not really been doing anything else, but I have been collecting other projects that I was in the middle of doing or want to do, and they've kind of piled up into a really big pile in the corner of my room. And now that it's spring, I just want to tick everything off my to-do list and start afresh. So I'm kind of filming this as a way to keep me accountable. I have a lot of different things that I want to do. I have a lot of mending to do. A few of my favourite garments have holes in them that I want to fix. I want to dye some of my clothes. I want to finish my smaller knitting whips that I've neglected. I have a sewing project that I want to do. I'm going to show you the fabric actually. So I went to New York April 2024, almost a year ago. I went to Mood Fabrics and I bought some fabric with the aim of that encouraging me to learn to sew on a sewing machine. I bought two different fabrics, one of which I successfully made into a garment and the second of which has just sat here for a very long time. So I have a pattern. It's of a really nice kind of unique blouse. I bought it off Etsy. This is the fabric. It's a cotton. It's like a pinky beige leopard print, and I've been wanting to make the garment all winter but not enough to actually sit down and sew because I don't enjoy sewing as much as I do knitting, but it's time for me to get this out the way, so I'm going to be making that. I also have a half-finished hand-sewn leather bag kit. I have a bunch of hemming to do for trousers that I bought in the past like 6 months that are too long for me. So all of that's going to be done in this video. I hope you enjoy. I hope you can just have this on the background while you also do a bit of mending or whatever it is that you've been putting off for a while. Actually, I did the first craft of this video last night, but I still want to show you it because I think it's made such a difference to a few of my hand knitted garments. I put a few strands of elastic through the necklines of a few of my hand knitted sweaters. So this is the Breezy long sleeve top by Kiss Kiss Rhinestones. I knitted this in December and it's my favourite. I've worn it loads and I've washed it I think like 3 or 4 times now, and the neckline was really starting to go. There's some photos of me wearing this in January and I'm like wearing it off the shoulder because the neckline is stretched so much. So I got some elastic from the Petite Knit website. I'm sure there's cheaper places to get it, but I was ordering something else anyway. And I put it on a needle and just threaded it through the inside. So it is visible on the inside. I also got a label so I can tell which side is the back, but not at all visible when worn, and it has made such a difference to how the neckline sits. And I did the same thing for my Little Eye sweater by Wool and the Gang. I really recommend doing this, honestly. I think that these look so much neater and newer. The next thing on my to-do list is just a bit of mending, to be honest. I've got a lot of garments in this pile that just have a small hole in them and need fixed, and then they'll be back in the drawers and out of sight. And they're also a lot of my favourite garments. Like my favourite pair of jeans has a hole in them and I've not been able to wear them for like 2 weeks, and honestly I miss them every day, so that needs done. This is my pile of things that I need to hand mend. I think honestly they're going to be pretty quick jobs. I just want to fix all these little holes. These are my favourite linen trousers before they get any bigger. These are my favourite jeans as well. This has got a pretty substantial hole. I have no idea how that happened. And this is my most worn sweater and I caught it on something recently. And again, there's just a little hole there that needs sewn up. I'm also going to try and fix my Longchamp bag. I love this bag. I've had it for like 10 years and it's worse for wear, but recently one of the handles just completely fell off. I actually sent this away to Longchamp for them to fix because they do have a service where they can repair the bags, but they sent it back saying that it's too far gone for them to fix. However, I don't think it's too far gone for me to fix because I just need to sew this back. So I'm gonna attempt to do that. It's like really on its last legs and I should just buy another one, but I want to like see if I can just get a little bit more wear out of this before I say goodbye to it. I also want to show you what I'm going to be working on knitting wise throughout this because I always need to have something on my needles, even though I'm going to be mainly focusing on the sewing. Last night I picked up this old whip that has been languishing for a while, and this is from a Hooks and Needles box. It's going to look like that eventually, and I think it was like down here last night, and I did all of this, and I've almost finished my first ball of wool. This is really, really nice wool. It's like a cotton and wool blend, and you just keep going until you finished all 3 balls of wool. So I think that's going to get done fairly quickly. I really am enjoying the process of knitting this. I'm also going to be working on my beanie number 1 with this Drops Air in the shade blue. I had started this, then my needles got confiscated in an airport, so I think I'm gonna undo it and start again with my new set of needles. Hopefully these are both going to be fairly quick projects, but I think I've had them on the go since like November, so it'll be nice to get these finally finished. Finished all my hand sewing. I'm very happy to have all those clothes back in the drawers and back in action, and I'm so happy with the job that I managed to do on my Longchamp bag. I've not only managed to sew the strap back on so that it looks almost the same as the other straps, but I also sewed in the torn corners at the bottom, which was surprisingly easy to do because this fabric isn't as thick as you think it is, so I just used a normal needle and thread. And it looks so much less beaten and battered, not having holes in all 4 corners of it. I really, really love this bag. This is the first, maybe the only designer bag I've ever bought. Oh no, I've got another Longchamp little backpack. And I bought it with the money from my first real job, so I'm really happy that I can wear it for at least a little bit longer. I can see why the brand didn't want to repair it themselves, because some of the inner lining is like flaking off, which I think is probably really compromising the structural integrity of the bag. But if I can use this for at least a little bit longer before it falls apart again, I'll be very happy with that. Next on my list is my hand sewn leather bag kit, and I'm also going to start on the top that I'm going to sew from scratch. But let me just give you a little knitting update. I'm making some progress on my whips. I'm going to say this is about 40% done, this scarf now. I'm on my second of 3 balls of yarn. This pattern is a 10-row repeat. Well, I think it's actually a 20-row repeat, but I'm doing a 10-row repeat. And so it's quite interesting to keep going. Like, I just do 10 rows and then I put it down and then I pick it up and I do another 10 rows. So I'm still enjoying doing this. And as for my beanie number 1 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, I haven't done any actual knitting. But instead of unraveling it and starting from scratch, I managed to thread my new needles onto the old knitting that I had done. So I've saved myself like 2 hours technically, and I just need to get back into the swing of things with this. I need to remember the stitch. I think it's a fisherman's rib or a half fisherman's rib, and then I'm sure this will fly off the needles. So for my hand sewn leather bag, this is how far I got. This is a kit that I got sent by the brand probably in about October. The brand is called Babylon Leather, and this is their zip top tote bag DIY leather bag kit. They did give me an affiliate link at the time. If it's still valid, I'll put it in the description. But I've basically sewn the majority of the bottom of the bag to this. It's really easy to do because the holes are pre-punched into the leather, so it's just a case of putting your needle in and out. There's also a tutorial video that shows you what step to do when. And my sewing project that I'm going to be making with this material is called the Side Tie Tank pattern by Sunday School Patterns. I bought it on Etsy. I think I have 1.5 meters of this fabric. I bought the fabric before I knew what I wanted to make with it. I knew I wanted to make a top of some kind, but looking through patterns, I realised that the vast majority of the patterns that I like the look of and would actually wear are stretchy patterns because I like having a defined waist. I don't like wearing like oversized blouses or anything like that. So this pattern appealed to me because you can tie it around the waist, and I really like the extra sort of apron panel detailing and the bows. The difficulty is confident beginner / intermediate, but I do have my mum helping me every step of the way. So thank God for that, because I can barely even put the thread into the sewing machine. So step number 1 is going to be washing and drying this fabric. Then I'm going to print out the pattern and cut out all the pieces, I think. I've just finished filming a knitting podcast and I've got some progress updates for you. So my beanie number 1, done, finished, blocked, dried, ready to wear. First knitting whip completed. This triangle scarf is getting pretty big. This is how much yarn I have left on my second of 3 bowls. So I'm gonna say I'm like 65% done with this. My leather bag, I was working on this last night. We now have feet on the bottom of the bag and a partially attached zip and inner pocket. Now I was working on this quite late last night and I was just trying to push one of the needles through a bit of leather that didn't have a hole punched, and I not only broke a nail but I broke one of the needles. So I'm gonna have to find a replacement needle, but the instructions for this are in the form of a video tutorial and I'm about 10 minutes of the way into a 25-minute video tutorial. So good progress being made. I'm also really just actively enjoying this. There's nothing like it's just like knitting in it. You just mindless, put needle through hole vibes. That's that. For the sewing project, I have printed out my pattern and cut out all the pieces of it, which from my memory of the one sewing projects that I did before, this takes just as long as actually sewing everything together. So that's done. I also bought a zipper. So this is the zipper in action. You can zip it down, you can zip it up. It's an invisible zipper from Amazon and this is the closest colour match I can get to the fabric. It's a lot more tan beige than like pink beige, but the pink was way too pink. So this is what we've got to work with. My next steps are going to be actually cutting out the pieces of the pattern and just continuing to sew that bag. It's a nice shaping around the waist, isn't it?
Yeah, I like it.
Oh, it's nice.
Is it tight?
No, not at all. The neckline will be wider, right?
We can make it as wide as you want. Just like this.
Yeah, I think that looks a lot better.
You just want it a bit wider, just a centimeter.
Okay.
Well, I have to do other details as well, accordingly.
What other details?
Well, because there is a facing as well.
Oh yeah, there's the inside.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I have so many things to update you on. First thing being that I've bought a camera. I'm no longer filming on my phone, which is why this is a much wider angle, and I now have a viewfinder, which is both a blessing and a curse because I can see myself now, but I'm finding it much harder to look at the lens instead of myself, so that'll take some getting used to. But for my projects, I hand sewed the panels of my top together to see how they fit, and my mum and I have made some adjustments to the neckline to make it a bit more of a boat neck instead of a round neck. I also went around the edges of the fabric on the sewing machine to stop them fraying, and the next step is to sew the panels together on the sewing machine as well. My bag is essentially finished, but I need to attach the straps, which you do with like these screws and rivets. I think the same ones as you add to the bottom, but I don't know if maybe I've lost them in the past 6 months. That's certainly not unlikely, or if they weren't included in the kit, but either way the brand is sending me some more screws, so once they arrive I'll be able to fully finish the bag. It's quite a good size. It can just about fit my MacBook, my 13-inch MacBook, into the bag. It does deform it a little bit, but it can fit everything else in it, which is great. I did cast on a new knitting project and indeed cast it off last night. This is a hat for my friend's birthday. This is just a free 2x2 ribbed beanie pattern, super simple. This is my second hat that I've made using this pattern, and it literally just takes like 2 evenings to finish this off. Initially, my intention with this hat was to use up a bowl of my Drops, what is it? Alaska, my Drops Alaska, this green one, because my friend likes this colour of dark green, but the yarn was pretty thick, so I ended up needing to dive into another bowl. So this is actually a great stash buster for me. I've used up 2 bowls of yarn that I had no other purpose for because I find this yarn too itchy for myself. But I'm left with this colour combination that I don't think she'll love that much, so I'm actually going to dye it along with a lot of my other clothes today. This is the scarf progress. There is not much progress being made, but I am well into my 3rd and last bowl of yarn now. The big thing that I'm going to do today, as I just mentioned, is do a lot of dyeing. So let me show you all the clothes I plan to dye and how I plan to dye them. Oh, how about that? Guess what was at the bottom of that bag? These are the rivets that I need for the bag. So I can finish that bag now. Oh, I'm gonna have to email the company and say sorry, I'm just all over the place. Oh well. Anyway, I have 2 dyes here. These are both for natural fibres. Everything that I'm dyeing today is going to be natural fibres. I have the Rit Charcoal Grey. This is the type of dye that you just add it to like a basin. This works for wool, and one of the garments that I'm going to dye this colour is wool. The other dye that I have is a Dylon Intense Black washing machine pod type dye. I've used these dyes like 2 or 3 times before. They're so easy. Like, you just follow the instructions, you shove it in the washing machine, you run like 3 cycles of the washing machine just to make sure that the dye is like all out, but because this is a washing machine dye, you can't really use it on wool. So I'm going to separate all the clothes I have out into 2 piles, the ones that are going to be dyed grey and the ones that are going to be dyed black. One thing I will say is I've used this Dylon fabric dye in the grey colour before, and it's a very green grey. I'm really hoping that this grey is going to be more of a true grey, but we'll see. So I have a lot of clothes here. First are these shorts that were initially white. I then dyed them navy, and I think the navy is just a bit too bright. I don't really wear that much navy, and honestly I just don't love how they look. So these are going to go into the black washing machine dye pile. Next I have this plain cotton t-shirt from M&S. This is a really nice t-shirt. It's such a nice fit. But this shows sweat patches very, very, very easily. So I'm gonna dye it black because I'm scared that even if I dye it dark grey, the sweat patches would still show. I have some light grey tops that are completely fine, but this is not one of them, and you never really know until you like start wearing them, which is annoying. This is a t-shirt that was initially beige, and I then dyed it with the Dylon slate grey dye, and I don't think it's showing up on camera, but it's basically like a dark emerald green. It's not great at all. So I'm gonna dye this one black as well because that shade of green just doesn't do much for me. The first item of clothing that I'm gonna put into the dark grey dye pile is this hat. I'm also going to be dyeing my petite knit zipper sweater. I know that some people really love this colour, but I haven't worn it since I made it, and I really just want this to be grey. So that's going in the grey dye bath. These are some really beautiful cashmere blend sea trousers that I got handmade for me in Hoi An. But when I picked out the fabric, I thought I was picking out like a brown grey, but the lighting was really bad, and turns out it's like a purple colour that I really don't love. So these are getting turned grey as well. And then I have this last top that I also got handmade in Hoi An for me. My trip to Hoi An was like a year and a half ago now, and this is honestly the most beautiful cut of top ever. It's so stunning. It's like this wide square neck, and it's got beautiful tassels on the sides. But again, I thought I was picking a grey material, but it's like this purple once again, and while grey is like quite cool toned, this purple is just so much more cool toned than grey, and I just don't think it looks good on me at all. I've not worn it once. I am a bit worried about this one because I can't remember what the fabric composition was, and it feels like it might be polyester, so I'm going to still try and dye it. If this doesn't dye, then I'll set it aside and just get some synthetic dye. I really hope that this will be able to be dyed, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. And that is everything that I want to dye, so I'm gonna get to work with these. Gosh, I have so many updates. I actually feel like I'm filming like 100 project vlogs at once, and I guess I kind of am. But I have a lot of finished stuff to show you. I have some partial success with the dyeing, and I think I'm beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel that is all of my craft works. So first update, I put the handles on this bag and it's now fully complete. I love it. I think this has turned out so well. It's such a lovely quality leather. I have really realised, like from bag shopping recently, that most bags that are under £100 are faux leather. Like, it's so hard to get a real leather bag nowadays that just the fact of the matter that this is made of leather makes it look so expensive, because it's very obviously not made of plastic. And yeah, I love that it has two options. I can wear it like as more of a shoulder bag, and then I've got these top handles to put like in the crook of my elbow. And yeah, really, really happy with how this has turned out. And next I have also finished this scarf. I finished it, I've washed it, I have blocked it. It's turned out pretty big. Oh, I haven't weaved in that one end. Oh, I can't be bothered. I'll just tuck it in. It's a bit of a weird dimension, I'm not gonna lie. I am gonna give this to my mum, she really likes these colours, but one sort of end is a lot longer than the other, so you kind of have to wear it a little bit on a slant. Like, I feel like this triangle part should be sitting in the centre, but if you do that, this end isn't long enough, so it's a bit skew-iff. But yeah, there it is. It feels nice. The yarn, I think I've already said this like 4 times, but the yarn is lovely. So I am glad that that is off the list. I think that the dimensions might be down to me misreading the pattern. So hopefully it's still a wearable item for my mum. Otherwise, on the knitting front, I have casted on like 2 more things. I was like thinking about not admitting to casting on a new sweater, but it's kind of like obvious if you watch any of my other content that like I only lasted about 10 days before casting on another sweater. So this is what I've got of my Lindgren sweater. I'm filming in a whole dedicated project vlog to this, but this is where I'm at so far. I am gonna try and hold off on working on this as much as I can. This is like the bottom of the body, and focus on my other whips. I have also casted on a hat to finish up some scrap yarn. In my head, using up scrap yarn is equivalent to like finishing a whip. Like, they're both like good uses of my time, I guess. And I also want to make my mum a hat before I leave and move to Germany. She really liked the look of my beanie number 1. So I think I'm just going to crank this out in a few days. It's Mother's Day at the end of the week, so it'll be a perfect little gift. I'm using up the rest of my hobby Suri alpaca and fingering weight alpaca that I use to make my petite knit zipper sweater. And yeah, I just casted this on now. I don't think that'll take very long, and especially because I remember how to do the last beanie number 1, because I only finished it like, what, 2 weeks ago? Time seems like such a blur at the moment. And yeah, my other whips are staring at me like, why are you not working on me instead of this beanie? It's all good. Why am I stressed? It's all good. I will finish everything. I don't think I'll finish all of my whips just within this one like vlog, but I'm still gonna keep them as a priority moving forward. I'm not just gonna go back to trying to cast on loads of new projects, even though I want to. Let me show you how the dyeing stuff went. So the black dye on the whole went extremely well. I also managed to dye some fabric, and I chucked that in the washing machine along with the black clothes that I had, and it turned out really well as well. So this is the t-shirt that used to be light grey and show sweat stains. It's just a perfect shade of black. It's not like too green, it's not too blue. And I really like this detailing, this completely accidental detailing. The thread is obviously polyester, so the dye's not taken to it, and it stayed light grey, and it looks intentional, like it looks cool. So I like that. The shorts also turned out really well. These look like something that I will wear in the summer. I really love these shorts. I really love them the most when they were white. I actually did repurchase them in white. The reason that I had to dye them was because they got stained. So yeah, I've got a white version and a black version now. This is another top that I dyed black. This took so well. That black dye is really good. The one unsuccessful thing was this top that I was scared was polyester. It obviously is. It stayed exactly the same colour as it was before, which is fine. Like, I'll just keep it to one side because I'm sure there will be a day where I get some synthetic dye and dye a few things, and I'll just make sure that this is included in that batch. The grey dye went less well. So the instructions say to use like hot water in the dye bath, but because I was using like Suri alpaca. I really was scared of it felting. I only made the water like lukewarm, like maybe 30 or 40 degrees, like bath temperature. And like the wool was fine, like it didn't felt. My zipper sweater is still intact, but I don't know if it was the dye or the temperature of the water or both, but everything came out very reddish. And so I'm just left with a bunch of purple stuff. These trousers, I think, have stayed exactly the same colour. Maybe they've changed colour very slightly. It's so hard for me to tell. I don't know if maybe there is a lot of synthetic fibres in this composition. Maybe it's like a cashmere blended with like 60 or 70% polyester. I don't have like, there's no label tags or care tags or anything, so I really don't know. But yeah, this really hasn't worked at all. The beanie, I've already given it to my friend. Their birthday's already gone, so I don't have it to show you. But the green stayed exactly the same colour, and the light blue turned a bit of a purpley grey. I think the blue in the original dye cancelled it out to be not so purple, and I handed it over to my friends and I said, like, look, I can re-dye it if you don't like this colour scheme. But they really liked the hat. They thought it looked really cool, so I don't have to worry about that. But the one thing that did get dyed, but just not the colour that I expected, was my zipper sweater. So it's obviously, the dye's taken to it very well, like it's completely even. It's not felted at all, but it's purple. And I don't know if it's just because maybe the original colour was pink and pink's mixed with grey maybe equals purple. But this really surprised me and I don't love it. I feel like everything that I have unsuccessfully dyed is just varying shades of purple, which is potentially like one of my least favourite colours to wear. So I have ordered some of the same Rit dye in black, and I'm gonna dye this black. I really kind of ummed and ahed about whether to try and dye it again or just leave it, because I don't hate this purple. I feel as indifferent to it as I did about the original pink. And dyeing something black like feels kind of scary because it's, you know, it's very permanent, like there's no colour that you can dye over the top of it. But honestly, like I want this jumper to be something that I can wear like, you know, like literally like 3 times a week, and I'm not gonna do that with any colour other than a neutral. Like I like having colourful clothes, but I want to have my neutral basics, and I want this to be a neutral basic. So the black dye's in the mail, and I'll be doing that soon. Probably not gonna up the temperature of the water though. I am quite scared of the risk of felting this. So I'm gonna keep it at its lukewarm temperature and hopefully that will work. For my sewing top, my last update today, we are making significant progress on it. I have machine sewed the seams together apart from one of the sides, and my mum and I have worked together to adjust the neckline to be more of a boat neck. But the biggest adjustment that we have made is that the zip is meant to be on the back. It's meant to be in the centre back panel, and I'm hypermobile and I still don't know how I would zip that up by myself, and I really don't want to have a top that I need someone else's help getting in and out of. So instead we've put the invisible zipper on the side here. This is my mum's first time putting in an invisible zipper, and certainly my first time. So it's not completely invisible, but I think when the panel and the bows are in front of it, it's not going to be noticeable. I think it's mainly visible because it's a beige, like way more of a tan beige than the pink colour. It's quite an involved process, but I am actually getting really excited to see the finished result because I've already tried it on a few times and I am really liking it. It is literally the next day since my last update, and I am currently pinning in the seams of the sleeves for my top, and last night I finished off the neckline. So as you can see, it's much more of a boat neck than it originally was. Oh, is this the back? No, this is the front, yeah. So I'm gonna be making these shoulders probably quite small at the top there. I do have one big update, which is that I have finished this beanie number 1. I cast it on yesterday and cast it off today. I haven't blocked it. I don't think I will block it. I don't think the stitches need it, and it seems to be a fairly good fit now. This is a much better yarn for a beanie than the Drops Air. This feels much more substantial, and yeah, I think it's turned out like pretty nice. This used up very little wool. I had like 2 bowls of the Hobby cereal alpaca that I wanted to get through, and I didn't even get through one of them. So I've got enough to make probably another hat, which maybe I will actually. I think it's kind of suits me. Maybe I'll make my mum and I matching ones. I have now moved on to my next knitting whip, the pile of which is decreasing slowly but surely. This is the start of a project from a Hooks and Needles box. It's going to be a cable knit scarf, my first cable knit pattern, and I put off starting this for ages because I thought that I'd made a mistake after I casted it on, and it was an I-cord cast on, which takes forever, and I didn't want to redo it, but I've had a look at it and I didn't make a mistake. So I've just ploughed on. I think I'm going to be starting my first cable soon, and I think this is going to potentially be quite a quick project to do because this is all the yarn that I have for it. It's really beautiful, isn't it? I think gorgeous, like sort of nature. Reminds me of sort of like, I don't know, the sea with some seaweed in it. So this is going to be what I am going to be focusing on while I knit. And I just want to talk about the final projects that are going to be featured in this video. They're machine sewing projects as well, but I think I'm going to be working on them simultaneously with this top because I need a lot of my mum's help with this top, but the other projects are hemming trousers, and I think I can do that completely on my own without having to ask my mum 1,000,001 questions. So I have 2 pairs of trousers here. They're both from the brand Pepper Mayo, who occasionally gift me clothing. They're a really nice clothing company, and I love the quality of their clothes. They sent me these cream tailored trousers. I really love how they look. They've got a really wide leg, but they are far too long for me. So I'm going to try and take these in. They've got a lining as well, so I'm going to have to do both the lining and the outer trousers, but I think I can do this with no help. And the second pair are a similar story. So these ones are a linen blend. And when I first got these, I tried them on and they were too long for me. So I hemmed them. Then I took them on holiday, and the first time that they were washed were when I handed them over to a laundrette. And I don't know if this is because they have just never been washed while in production, or if the laundrette just wash them on too high of a temperature, but they have shrunk, and as you can see, the lining hasn't shrunk, so they look a bit ridiculous. I love these trousers, and luckily the brand sent me a replacement pair, so I washed those on too high of a temperature, let them shrink, and then hemmed them. So those are now the perfect length for me, and I don't think that they're going to shrink again. And because these are such a high quality pair of trousers, I really don't want to chuck them, so I'm thinking of just making them into shorts. In the summer, these kind of trousers and shorts are like all I wear, so I would get a lot of use out of these if I'm able to pull this off, which I think I am, because honestly I don't see any difference between hemming something to be up here than hemming something to be 3 more inches. So that is all that I've got left for my massive to-do list, and physically from my massive Primark bag full of clothes. Hemming 2 pairs of trousers, dyeing that petite knit zipper sweater black, finishing this top, and 1 more knitting project, which if I don't finish, that's fine. I am getting a lot better acquainted with the sewing machine now. I feel really comfortable putting the thread like through all these bits and then through the needle, which at the start of this vlog I couldn't remember how to do. So I'm definitely learning. finished hemming the trousers last night and I actually love how they look so much that I'm wearing them already. They're like the perfect fit of like slouchy, oversized tailored trousers. This is how I want all tailored trousers to fit. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. I'm wearing my new bag for the first time as well, and I'm just wearing it with the only turtleneck that I own that doesn't trigger a fight or flight response in me, my leather jacket that I got Acquainted, and my new Puma Palermos. These are the only like new clothing purchase that I've made in 2025 that's not like second hand or handmade, and I love them. They're such good trainers. I got them like a month ago and I'm already getting so much wear out of them. They've got like the length of the trousers pretty bang on. I'm so happy. I feel like I've gained an entire new spring wardrobe without actually having to buy anything. All of the projects are finally finished, and not a moment too soon because I'm actually moving house in 2 days. And it's kind of been perfect timing. I do feel like I've rushed through the past week. I actually didn't know how long I have been filming this vlog for. It feels like I've done like 2 or 3 months worth of work, but I actually started filming this like at the start of March, so it's been about 3 weeks. I've gained so many new items of clothing just by doing like minor fixes here and there. I'm really happy with the way that this month has gone. Here is the finished sewn top. I think this is like the pièce de résistance of this entire vlog. It's certainly been the biggest project. And here's the back. I'm not gonna lie, my mum did the majority of the work at the very end. She did all the fiddly bits and she did all the mental effort of figuring out what to tell me next to sew. I didn't really look at the pattern at all, to be honest. She did like an invisible seam to hold the facing that's at the top down, and she did an edge stitch at the neckline. She also did all of the, like, I don't know, probably not calculations, but like all of the pinning and figuring out how to make the facing work with the alteration of the boat neck. I do feel like my skills have really advanced while making this top because I now feel comfortable like hemming stuff, which has always just been my goal with sewing. I've always just wanted to know how to make like minor alterations and repairs to clothes. I don't know if I'll ever get to the stage where I'm like making clothes like this completely by myself on the regular. I'm finding it hard to put into words exactly how I feel about sewing, because when I'm actually like doing the machine sewing, that's fine, and like cutting out the pattern pieces, that's fine, and figuring out where stuff goes together, I think I could do that. I haven't actually done that because my mum's done all that, but like the pinning and then the hand sewing before you machine sew and like the ironing, I find all that like a little bit tedious, and I don't know if that's just because I'm still very much in the learning stage, and once I really feel comfortable and know what I'm doing, maybe I'll be able to spend less time doing that and enjoy sewing more. I have enjoyed making this more than my first ever sewing project, that's for sure. So maybe it's just something that will come with time, but as I'm moving, I'm not going to have a sewing machine in my house anymore. Maybe I can find a public sewing machine and do some work on that to improve my skills and make some more clothes. I really, really like how this top has turned out. I am so glad that we made the alterations that we did. The boat neck, I think, looks so much better on me than the initial neck, and honestly, putting in the zip on the side was a stroke of genius on my part. If the zip were in the back, I don't think I would ever wear this because I would really struggle to just put it on by myself, and as this isn't a stretch fabric, I'd have to like I don't know, like swivel it around, like it would just be such a nightmare. So having the side zip makes this really easy to take on and off. So if you want to make this pattern yourself, I would recommend making that alteration. I would say if you want to make this pattern yourself, it's listed online as like, I think confident beginner / intermediate, but my mum said this pattern was more difficult than like most of the patterns that she makes, and it's definitely not really a beginner project. I kind of struggled like doing some of the seams with the curves that go around the bust. The zipper installation was really complicated. I certainly don't think that I could have really done this if I were completely by myself as a beginner. So I'm very grateful that my mum was here to guide me through it. I am also very happy with the colour. I have a bit of a complicated relationship with like most pink clothes, in that like I love how they look, and then I buy them and then I don't wear them at all. But because this is such a beige pink, like it's really on the cusp of pink and beige, I think it's almost a neutral in my eyes. I feel really comfortable wearing this day to day. I think it looks really good with blue jeans. So yeah, there's this top, and let me talk you through all the other finished objects that I've done in the past few days. So my 2 hemming jobs both turned out really well, at least from the outside. I'm really happy with them. These are the shorts that used to be a pair of trousers. As you might have seen from the clips, I did make a mistake with the lining, and I really couldn't be bothered to like unpick and recut everything, so I've just sewn it over again, which I think you can't see it from the outside. Like I don't think I've done a very professional job of this. However, the shorts are the right length, they are the same length on either side, and what more could you want? I'm happy with that. Now the other pair of trousers, I actually think I've done like a very good job of these. I think it's probably because the material is very easy to work with. It's like this really thick polyester that doesn't stretch, and it also doesn't need ironed. Like it doesn't crinkle around itself, and it just sort of folded over itself when I was hemming it. So this is my hemming job. I love how these look, and they feel great. I don't often say that about polyester stuff, to be honest, but I think it works really well specifically for these tailored trousers, because it means that they're just like flowy and they don't crease, and they're like easily machine washable. I now consider myself good enough at the sewing machine to hem stuff, which I think has been my goal for over a year. It was the reason that I bought this fabric from Mood in April 2024. So I feel very accomplished to have acquired this skill. Now we're going to move on to the one maybe partial fail of this vlog, which was the dyeing process. So this is what happened to my clothes after using one of the Rip black dye. And with this hindsight, it's very obvious that I should have used 2 bottles of the dye instead of 1. They've turned out like a very dark purple, and I also don't think that I mixed the clothes around enough. And as you can see, there's some like black lines on the back of this trouser, and I think there is a little bit of patchiness on the jumper that you can maybe see, maybe not. But yeah, it's not gone very well. Obviously it's fine, because the solution is to just do the dye again with 2 of the dyes. It also means that these trousers are dyeable, which is great. It means I can just keep going and get these to a true black colour. And I also dyed them with slightly hotter water. I want to say it was maybe like 45-degree water. And this is still the same shape, not felted, held up really well. You can also see that the zip is polyester and has not really been dyed, so I'm gonna have to replace this with a black zip. But yeah, so they don't look good enough to wear now. I just can't dye them now, like I'm leaving in 2 days. So I'm gonna leave them both here, which is fine, because I think this is too thick of a jumper to be wearing in spring anyway. And I am going to revisit these when I come back home and buy 2 bottles of black dye and do the entire process again. So it's a failure in that I don't have 2 extra items to wear in my wardrobe right now, but it's a success in that in the future I will. So it's fine. I honestly, even though this is like a weird dark purple colour and a bit patchy, I already like how it looks on me more than I did with the pink. I know that maybe some people will have some opinions about this and just be like, oh, you should have kept it pink, it looks so nice, blah blah blah. I would never have worn it, and I know that about myself. I'm afraid these are just gonna sit at the side until I come back home and dye them pure black. So let this be, I guess, a warning to you if you're going to use this dye. If you're dyeing like a big sweater and one other thing, you're gonna need more than one thing of dye. Alpaca can keep its shape without felting in like 40-degree water. And the dye came out really even when I did the grey. And I think I did a few swirls about, maybe like every 10 minutes I stirred the big metal pot that I had, just with like a metal kitchen utensil. And then with the black, I think I was lazier and maybe only really stirred them 2 or 3 times during the whole hour. So yeah, don't do that. Stir more. Don't be scared of felting. And I also put this in the washing machine on the hand wash cycle after the dyeing process, just to get the majority of the dye out. And it can also hold up in the hand wash cycle. So you may be seeing these again maybe in like August or something. I probably wouldn't wear these in spring and summer anyway, so I am quite happy to like hold off and then just have these re-dyed in time for next autumn and winter. And my last project that I have to share with you is this little infinity scarf from my hooks and needles box. I have mastered cables. I'm so proud of myself for this. I really thought they'd be more difficult than they are, but it was fun, and I think it maybe took like 3 or 4 days to knit this. Such nice wool, as always, with hooks and needles. This is what it looks like on. It's Mother's Day tomorrow. I'm going to give this to my mum. She loves scarves and she loves these colours. You have seen me knit 3 things for my mum in this video. Oh, this looks funny. I don't think this is how it's meant to be worn. I feel like it's a fair trade-off since she helped me so much with the sewing and she's probably the most knit-worthy person ever. And yeah, that brings us to a close. I really should do a tally of how many items of clothing I've gained throughout the process of this video, because I honestly feel like I have a whole new wardrobe of stuff to play with, which is a great alternative to just making a massive clothing haul. Thank you so much for watching. I hope maybe this served as motivation for any mending or other crafts that you've been putting off for a while, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!